I did a joint degree program in city planning and law, and took a course in historic preservation, and caught the bug right then and there, and have stayed in it ever since then. It was a course that we did some work in a small town in eastern North Carolina, trying to help them establish a local historic district in the mid-70s. And, you know, I just fell in love with one house after another, and the town as a whole, and the streetscape, and the people, and great people who were trying to revive that town. When I was growing up, I lived in the house that my grandfather built. We were kind of that extended generation family where my grandmother lived with us, or we lived with her, might be better put. But during that time, I watched downtown Durham get urban renewed, and as a kid, I kept asking, why are they doing this? You know, why are they tearing this stuff down? And I even have a pretty strong memory of going with my father to watch one of the Duke mansions being torn down. I couldn't have been more than 10 years old at the time. I'm not sure that the impact from seeing it torn down was really immediate, other than maybe having a sense of sadness from the people around me. I wouldn't particularly call my family a group of preservationists in any real sense, and yet here they are living in a 70, 80-year-old house at that point. Here they are making a decision not to flee to the suburbs like all their friends were doing. Durham is a very interesting city in terms of race, very closely balanced in terms of white population, African American population, and a strong African American educated middle class population there. So lots of different forces there, while both white landmarks are being torn down, African American landmarks are being torn down too. So it was a very chaotic time. Downtown Durham, they tore down blocks and blocks like most cities, and tore down where my father bought his cars every year. Tore down where I had my first guitar lessons. Tore down where I would go as a kid to buy clothes. All these various places being torn down. What's been particularly exciting has been my father worked in American Tobacco. My aunts and uncles worked at Liggett. I had an uncle who worked at American. So these are the places the generation before me worked. They all got vacated. The tobacco industry went away, and now the American Tobacco Complex has more employees now than it did when it was a cigarette factory. And it has been so cool for me to watch the American Tobacco Company and the Liggett and Myers Tobacco Company buildings all get renovated. I mean, we're talking about, just between those buildings, probably $350 million, maybe even up to $500 million invested in these buildings.
State money?
Federal tax credits plus state tax credits. And that's just cool to say that we had a little part in it through actually a fairly good part of it, by getting these tax credits put in place.